Lovely people, a pleasant evening to everybody. Now, a friend of mine was speaking to me about, some professionals in Jamaica here, who were giving the statistics as it relates to getting rid of oneself, sorry. And you know what I'm talking about. Some words you can't use because TikTok, I hate that. Is when you can't talk freely. But it's good to have a wide vocabulary. So the statistics actually, so I had to do a research and it was true. So more women actually attempt getting rid of themselves, but the attempts are not as lethal as the men who attempt it. That is why, and for that reason, you have more men end up going through death's door in heinous ways, in malevolent ways, in terrible, horrible ways. Whether it's using that weapon to get rid of themselves or that rope to get rid of themselves. Yeah, they look for the quick. Oh my God. No, women may not necessarily try that very draconian and very lethal manner. So that is why you'll find that they tend to survive, but they actually attempt it more. And I suppose because of the whole, you will find that a lot of women, I went further with the research and it talked about women, being depressed and despondent, maybe based on life's circumstances and so on, while men tend to have more personality disorder. If you notice, sometimes you wonder if these men are thinking, they tend to be like that. And unfortunately, they are taught out overtly or outrightly, subliminally or indirectly to hold their feelings in, to not be vulnerable. They're only taught be providers, be protectors. Do not cry, do not complain. You sound like a sissy when you do this. So it has created a sort of defect in their personality. And women, I'm going to say this, sometimes unfortunately as women we contribute to men being liars. It's a human problem, in terms of the lying. It's not just synonymous to one sex, as in biological sex, but you will find that men probably, it's easier for them to just reel out the lies because of the fact that they're taught to do it. When you tell them don't expose your feelings, don't be vulnerable, don't be true to who you are, hide it because you don't want to be demonized as a sissy, as that particular grouping of people, and all sorts of malady and malicious descriptions, so it has trained them in other areas to just practice the lie, and be deceptive, because that is how they're trained. Sometimes you wonder to yourselves when you hear some things that men do to women, and you wonder how it is that they have no qualms in doing it. They seem to have no, conscience. It's as though it has been singed or taken away. The reality is that it's not that they don't, it's that they have been trained. So it has become a part of them. It is systemic. While women are taught otherwise, I was saying to a friend of mine that he's a male and I'm female. If two of us were to fall on the ground, and let us say his fall is more deadly, well, let me not use that word, it's more dangerous and creates more problems. Even if I just I just need to just skid and some men see it. Baby, all right, you okay, you okay? If he drops and they look at him, seem all right, and if he ever starts to cry, they're going to start to say, big man, stop your eyes, a big old man, like, say all right, what you about for? That is after if they check that he's all right. If they draw, and I say sometimes men have it very hard. They're taught to be disingenuous. So that is why you have 2 to 3 times more women attempt getting rid of themselves. However, and I use the word attempt, it means that they're not necessarily successful. However, you have 3 to 4 times men actually going through death's door. So it actually is successful, far more. So you have far more women attempting, but they're not really going through death's door. And then you have, so even though you may have less men than the women attempting it, you still have more men dying because of it. So it's like it's quick because they're the means that they use. It's a sure way to go. It is a sure way to go. Maybe the little lighter ways, and I use the word lighter in quotations, you know, that the women will try. It doesn't work. Because maybe with women at the back of their minds, they're still hoping that somehow they'll be safe. So they probably, and also, you know, women to inflict pain on yourself by and large, generally speaking, it's, I can't say women really doing all of that, you know, so easily. General, you will have those exceptions. That is why I say by and large, who can do that, you know. But women, because of how delicate we are, to really, you know, just make it so final and to do these things, it's going to be very difficult, you know, to really inflict that level of pain and agony on ourselves. And it tells a very serious story that the world needs help. Because between the both genders, it is still bad. It is still very bad. The women have a lot of, you know, anxiety and, you know, go through depression, while the men have depression too, but personality disorders. They're taught to be disingenuous, to lie, to not be real, you know, by parents, mothers and fathers, whomever it is that they live with. You know, you're a boy, don't cry, don't make anybody know how you feel, and all of these very unhealthy, toxic practices. And this is why we are in this rut that we're in. Because, you know, when you hear of men attempting getting rid of themselves in such heinous ways, it tells a serious story of the rearing, the nurturing that they would have undergone. It has been toxic. So it's garbage in, and then after a while, the garbage out. And they're out forever and ever. That's it. Never to return, unfortunately. Very much unfortunate. Very, very much unfortunate. You know? And, you know, I hear people saying that there are far more women than men. Technically, not so much. It is how they're disproportionate. You know, and unfortunately, you have, you know, maybe you have a lot of men who are not necessarily high achievers. That could be one. Two, you have many who are incarcerated, you know, and the women, they want high value men, even mid-level value men, you know. They're not going for a man who is of low vibration, who is unambitious, you know, and who is abusive in its fullness. So they're not going for those men. So it's not that you have far more women than men. It's just how they're disproportionate, you know. And you find that women struggle to find somebody that just fit their need, that it's a perfect fit, it's a match made in heaven situation. It's very difficult, you know. And I always say the good ones are taken. There could be truth to that. Or sometimes the good ones are still searching and looking, and somehow the good woman and the good man passing each other by. You know. But I want people to understand that, you know, it is a serious situation that we're facing in the world globally. Very sad to know that both men and women, you know, don't see the importance of themselves on this planet, no matter who you are. Well, you know, that is arguable, you know, because some people in life, boy, I better reserve that thought. I better reserve that thought. Some people, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. Sometimes you wonder if they're actual humans, you know. You really wonder. But yeah, so there you have it. So you have more women attempting that thing, but they're not successful in many cases. So even though the men, the lesser of the two, you know, they do it, more are successful with the men. That's why it's high among them. It's ironic that, you know, even with that situation, with more women feeling the anxiety and the depression and so on, and yet you have, when you look at the mental institutions, you have more men in them than women. What's a very unfortunate situation. Let's put it that way. Anyway, guys, you know what to do. Read TikTok and YouTube. Subscribe. Give me one of those.